right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty interesting, pretty funny. It's called vibe coding, and it's kind of taken the tech world by storm this year.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it started as kind of a lighthearted thing,
Yeah.
just like a funny observation,
Yeah.
but it's become this huge talking point.
Yeah.
And I think it really does say a lot about how software is being built these days, especially in 2025.
For sure, for sure. So, like, for anyone listening who maybe hasn't heard of vibe coding, what is it? Like, what are we even talking about here?
Well, that's what this deep dive is all about, right?
Exactly. We're going to break it down. We're going to look at where this whole thing started. Like, believe it or not, it all goes back to one single tweet.
One tweet, yeah.
And then we're going to look at how people are actually using it and some of the funny stuff that's come out of it, like the memes and all that.
Well, memes, yeah.
And then we'll get into some of the, I guess, more serious debates around it, too.
Right, because there are definitely some big questions about, what this all means for the future of coding.
Yeah. So to really kick things off, at its core, like, what is vibe coding? What's the basic idea?
Well, the simplest way to put it is, it's about coding with feeling,
Yeah.
using your intuition, not getting too bogged down in the details.
Just coding with feeling, huh?
Yeah, and sometimes, even using AI to write the code itself based on, like, just telling it what you want in plain English.
Huh. So, like, you just tell the computer what you want, and it does it.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild, and, that's part of why this whole thing has gotten so much attention.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds too easy to be true, doesn't it?
It does.
Like, is it actually a real thing, or is it just, like, an internet joke?
Okay, so this is the really interesting part. It's both.
Oh, both.
Yeah. Like, it started as a kind of a joke, but
Yeah.
it reflects this very real shift that's happening with all these super powerful AI coding assistants that are out there now.
So people are actually doing it, like coding by vibes.
They are. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not everyone's taking it to the extreme, but
Yeah.
yeah, the idea is taking hold. So
Yeah.
let's unpack this a little bit.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
First off, you got to understand, vibe coding is it's not like there's this official definition or anything.
So it's kind of fluid?
Yeah, exactly. It's fluid, it's loose, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, Like, it's part intuition, part just expressing yourself through code, part just having fun with it.
So it's like giving into the vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Like letting the code flow organically, not being so uptight about planning everything out perfectly in advance.
Yeah, I see.
Which is like the total opposite of how a lot of people think about coding, right?
Right, like the stereotype is that you have to, like, plan every single line of code in advance,
Yeah, all the diagrams,
Yeah.
the flow charts.
Yeah, exactly. But this is like throwing all that out the window.
Kind of, yeah. But here's the thing. There are, like, different ways people are describing what vibe coding actually means.
Oh, interesting.
So online, you'll see it described in a few different ways.
Yeah.
Like one way is coding by prompt.
Coding by prompt. What's that?
Okay, so basically it's where you're just talking to the AI. You're using normal, everyday language to tell it what you want the code to do,
Yeah.
and the AI writes the actual code for you.
Oh, wow. So you don't even have to know, like, the actual coding language.
Not really. That's kind of the point. Like, there was this definition on TikTok. It was like, you tell the AI assistant what you want in plain language, and the AI writes the code for you.
Oh, wow. TikTok, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like having a translator.
Yeah, kind of. But what's really interesting to me about that is it changes the role of the developer, right?
Yeah. So you're not, like, the one actually writing the code anymore.
Not necessarily. No, you're more like the director. You're guiding the AI, telling it what to do.
Interesting. So it's more like big picture thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's about, like, the high-level stuff, the overall design, the functionality.
Okay, I like that.
And then another way people are describing it is intuition over rigor.
Okay, that's interesting. Intuition over rigor.
Yeah, so here the idea is you're coding based on what feels right. Like what looks good to you, what makes sense in your gut, rather than, following all the rules and best practices that you might learn in a coding class.
So it's more about, like, the aesthetics of the code.
Yeah, and like trusting your instincts. There's this idea that if the code feels right, it probably is right.
Huh. That's a pretty bold statement, isn't it?
It is.
Like, are they saying you should just ignore all the rules?
Not exactly, but it's more about, like, having an emotional connection to the code, trusting your feelings about it.
Oh, interesting. So it's less like science and more like art?
Yeah, kinda. Like prioritizing the beauty and the personal expression in the code.
Okay. Okay, I can kind of see that.
And then you've got the really wild side of vibe coding.
Oh, there's a wild side.
Yeah. It's the just wing it mentality.
Just wing it.
Yeah. Embrace the chaos, rely on your gut, even if you don't totally get what's going on under the hood.
Oh man, that sounds kind of dangerous.
It can be. But it's also like that moment when you're coding and you just get this feeling, this
Like a flow state?
yeah, like a flow state. You're
Yeah.
just in the zone, the code's flowing out of you, and you're not even sure how you're doing it, but it's working.
Okay, yeah, I think I've had those moments.
Right. And that's kind of the peak delusional confidence part of vibe coding. Like when your code compiles on the first try and you think, I am a coding god.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
But really what vibe coding is, it's this mix of, a real way of using AI to build stuff
Mhm.
and this kind of playful, almost philosophical way of thinking about code.
Yeah, it's like productive and funny at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a good sense of what vibe coding is, or at least all the different ways people are using the term.
Right.
But where did this whole thing come from? Like, how did it start?
Okay, so this is kind of wild. It all started with one single tweet.
One tweet, really?
Yeah, in February of 2025, Andrej Karpathy.
Oh, yeah, the AI guy.
Yeah, he's a big deal in AI. He used to work at Tesla AI, co-founded OpenAI.
Yeah, yeah.
So he posts this tweet on X, which was Twitter back then.
Yeah.
And it basically becomes like the accidental manifesto for vibe coding.
Wow. Okay, so what did he actually say in this tweet?
So he's describing his own experience with what he called vibe coding, right?
Okay.
And he's basically like barely touching the keyboard. He's just asking the AI for these very simple changes in plain English. Like,
Give me an example.
like decrease the padding on the sidebar by half.
Oh, okay, so pretty basic stuff.
Yeah, very basic stuff. And then here's the kicker. He says he's just blindly accepting all the suggestions the AI is making.
Oh, wow, really? Like, without even looking at them?
Yeah. Accept all, he called it. Didn't even look at the diffs.
Wait, diffs, like in Git?
Yeah, the diffs, like the changes to the code that you're supposed to review very carefully.
Yeah.
He's just skipping all that.
Okay, that's pretty bold. What else?
So if he gets an error message, he just copies and pastes it back into the AI. And he's saying the whole code base is like growing beyond his own understanding at this point.
It's just like evolving on its own.
Kinda, yeah. Like sometimes the AI couldn't fix a bug and he'd just like find a workaround. He even said, not too bad for throwaway weekend projects, but quite amusing.
So he was almost like watching the code write itself.
Yeah. That's kind of the feeling you get from the tweet, like just observing, making little requests, running the code, copying and pasting, and somehow it's mostly working.
What tools was he using? Do you remember?
Yeah, he specifically mentioned using AI coding assistants like Cursor, which is powered by a GPT model called Sonnet.
Oh, wow.
And he's even using voice commands with Whisper. So he's really going all in on this like hands-off approach to coding.
Yeah. Yeah. So when he says the vibes, he's basically talking about this, like trust in the AI.
Yeah, trusting the process, letting go of the need to understand every little detail of the code.
Huh. Okay, so that's the origin story, huh? This one tweet from Andrej Karpathy.
It is. And the craziest part is it just blew up.
Yeah, I remember seeing it everywhere. Like, it wasn't just, tech people talking about it.
Right. Like it went way beyond just AI researchers and developers. It was like all over the internet.
Yeah.
The New York Times wrote about it, Ars Technica.
Oh, wow, the mainstream media.
Yeah. And then, get this, it even got added to the Merriam-Webster dictionary as like a slang term.
Seriously, that's amazing.
Yeah, by March of 2025, it was in the dictionary.
That's crazy. Okay, but with it spreading so fast, I gotta imagine, like, did the meaning of vibe coding start to change?
That's a great point, and it
Yeah.
definitely did. Not everyone who was using the term had seen Karpathy's original tweet or really understood what he meant by it.
Yeah.
So some people just thought it meant like any kind of coding with AI help.
Okay, yeah.
Others thought it just meant being in that flow state while coding, like really focused and in the zone.
So it became kind of like watered down.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the original meaning got a little fuzzy.
And Karpathy noticed this, right?
He did. He actually went back and clarified that for him, vibe coding really meant that extreme scenario he described in his tweet, like not looking at the AI's code at all, just trusting it completely.
Oh, wow. So like truly coding with zero understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, basically. Like,
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm doing dog meme.
Yeah.
But, By then, it was too late. The term was already out there. People were using it in all sorts of different ways.
Okay, so the meaning kind of evolved, but let's get back to like the actual practice of it. How are people actually using vibe coding? Like, what does it look like in action?
Okay, so one of the most common ways is what you might call the AI co-pilot approach, but like taken to the extreme.
Okay, so like those pair programming tools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of developers already use those.
Yeah, yeah.
But with vibe coding, it's like you're leaning on the AI way more.
Okay.
So like you describe what you want in plain English, the AI generates the code, you run it, and if there are errors, you just tell the AI to fix them.
And it does.
Well, it tries. It's like having a, super enthusiastic but maybe not super experienced junior programmer working for you.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I remember reading that someone called it programming by prompt.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're just iterating, feeding the AI error messages, giving it new instructions, but you're not actually writing or even really looking at the code yourself.
Wow. And that actually works.
It can. I mean, not always perfectly, but
Yeah.
it can be really powerful because you can generate so much code so quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't Kevin Roose, the tech journalist, build an entire app this way?
He did.
Right.
Remember that? And he's not even a programmer, really.
Yeah.
He just, talked to the AI and it built the app for him.
Which is crazy. Like, you don't even have to know how to code anymore.
Well, it's not quite that simple, but
Yeah.
it's getting closer. And I think that's one of the things that's so exciting about vibe coding.
Yeah, it's like this promise of being able to create software without having to learn all the technical stuff,
Exactly.
which could like open up software development to a lot more people.
Right. Like, imagine if anyone could just describe an idea for an app and then have an AI build it for them.
That's wild. And I guess that's where all these it mostly works success stories come from.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you see people online, on Threads, on X, on Reddit, talking about how they built these cool projects just using AI prompts.
Yeah.
There's this one Reddit user who claimed to have vibe coded like 160,000 lines of code.
160,000? Seriously?
Yeah. I mean, who knows if that's true, but
Right.
it shows you the kind of scale we're talking about.
Yeah.
And like TechCrunch reported that a lot of startups in the latest Y Combinator batch had like mostly AI generated code bases.
Oh, wow. Even serious startups are doing it.
Yeah. Because the speed is just incredible.
Yeah.
You can get a basic version of your idea up and running so fast with AI doing all the heavy lifting.
But come on. It can't all be sunshine and roses, right? Like, there's got to be a downside to this. Right?
There definitely is.
Okay. So what's the catch?
Well, the catch is vibe debugging.
Vibe debugging.
Yeah. Like when your vibe coded masterpiece starts throwing errors and you have no idea how to fix it.
Oh, man. Because you don't understand the code.
Exactly. Like you didn't write it, so you don't really know how it works. And sometimes AI doesn't even remember why it did what it did.
So it's like magic code. You just got to hope it works.
Kinda, yeah. And that's where the humor comes in, right?
Yeah.
Like all those memes about vibe debugging.
Yeah.
The Phil's Fix memes.
Yeah. Those are great.
Because it's such a relatable experience, like you're staring at this wall of code that you didn't write. It's throwing errors and you're just like, what have I done?
I can only imagine.
And sometimes the code the AI generates is what we call spaghetti code.
Oh, I've heard that term before. What is it exactly?
It's like this tangled mess of functions and dependencies that like somehow work, but nobody can really understand them.
Okay, yeah.
It's a nightmare to maintain.
So even if it works at first, it might not be a good long-term solution.
Exactly. And there's this other risks too, right? Like security vulnerabilities.
Oh, yeah.
There's even that meme going around about someone accidentally vibe coding a huge security hole into their app.
Oh, no.
It's funny, but it's also kind of scary, right?
Yeah, it's a real concern.
Yeah, because when you're letting the AI write code without really understanding it, you could be introducing all sorts of problems that you don't even know about.
So it's like a trade-off, speed and ease of use versus like reliability and security.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a big part of the debate around vibe coding.
But there's another kind of vibe coding too, right? It's not all AI driven.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that feel-good kind.
Yeah, exactly. More of an analog vibe coding, you could say.
Analog vibe coding. What's that?
It's where developers are coding based on their intuition and how the code feels to them,
Okay.
Like they'll sit down with their favorite music, maybe a cup of coffee, and just start coding whatever feels right in the moment.
Oh, okay. So it's more like an artistic process.
Yeah, kind of. It's about trusting your gut, Going with the flow, not getting too hung up on the details.
So like refactoring as you go, trying things out until it feels right.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it can be really effective, especially for experienced developers. Like they've built up this intuition over years of coding, and they just know when something isn't right.
Yeah, yeah, like that feeling you get when you look at a piece of code and you just think, "Ooh, this is ugly."
Right. Or like this is going to be a pain to maintain later.
Yeah.
So they might rewrite it just because it feels better, even if they can't explain exactly why.
So it's like that flow state, but applied to code?
Yeah, I think so. Like you're just so immersed in the code that you're almost coding unconsciously.
Hmm.
And sometimes that can lead to some really elegant solutions.
But I imagine there are still some people who are like skeptical of this approach too, like even the analog kind.
Oh, for sure. Like
Hmm.
on Hacker News, there are a lot of engineers who are kind of worried about this whole vibe coding thing, both the AI kind and the intuition-driven kind.
Yeah, what are they saying?
Well, some are joking that if all these amateur vibe coders start creating apps, it's just going to create more work for them to clean up the mess later.
Oh, right, because the code might be really hard to maintain.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're not following best practices, if you're not documenting your code properly, it can be a real nightmare for someone else to come in and try to understand what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there are others who are just generally concerned about like the long-term impact on code quality.
Right.
Like they worry that vibe coding will lead to this culture of just throwing code together without really thinking about the consequences.
So it's like the debate between like moving fast and breaking things versus taking your time and doing things right.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a tension that's going to continue to play out as AI becomes more and more integrated into software development.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've talked about what vibe coding is, where it came from, how people are using it, and some of the debates around it.
Right.
But let's be honest, the thing that's really captured people's attention, the memes.
Oh, yeah.
Like the internet has had a field day with this.
It has. I mean, it's just such a perfect topic for memes, right?
Yeah.
It's new. It's kind of absurd. It has this built-in humor.
Yeah, yeah.
And developers especially, they love making fun of themselves in their work.
Okay, so what are some of the like the best, most popular vibe coding memes?
Okay, so one of the biggest themes is this contrast between like vibe coding versus vibe debugging.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like the idea that coding with AI is supposed to be easy and fun, but then when you have to debug something,
Oh,
it's
man.
a nightmare.
It's like the honeymoon phase is over.
Exactly. Like that meme where it's the drowning child and the distracted parent.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I know that one.
And the drowning child is your buggy code, and the parent is you, the vibe coder, just completely clueless about how to fix it.
Oh, that's perfect. And then there's the one with the AI just saying, "Boo fix."
Yes, like that's the entire debugging strategy, just begging the AI to figure it out.
Yeah. And I saw one that was like steps to vibe debug, and it was all these ridiculous things.
Oh yeah, like run it again, maybe the bug will disappear.
Yeah. Or ask the AI to debug its own code.
Exactly. And then the last step is always like delete everything and start over.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's the only option, you know?
Right, right. Oh, and I saw this one that was like, too afraid to ask what vibe coding is.
Oh, that's a classic.
Like everyone else seems to get it, but you're just nodding along, pretending you know what they're talking about.
Yeah. And then there were all those like those Pulp Fiction parodies.
Oh, those were great. Like reimagining those classic scenes, but with vibe coding.
Yeah. Like Jules and Vincent talking about AI generated semicolons.
Oh, man, those were so good. And then there were those inspirational quotes, right?
Yes. Like if coding is an art, then my code is abstract expressionism.
Yeah, yeah. Or like, I'm not a coder, I'm a vibe curator.
Exactly. And then the ones about like coding for 12 hours straight while listening to the same song on repeat.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Like that deep immersive flow state.
Yeah, yeah. And the AI comic strips.
Oh, those were great.
Like the one with the excited vibe coders on one side, all hyped up on the latest AI tool.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you have the tech support person just drowning in like error messages and broken code.
Right. It's funny, but it also makes you think, you know, like who's going to be responsible for maintaining all this vibe coded software in the long run?
Yeah, good point.
And even though your meme got in on the action, they had a whole entry for vibe coding. Yeah, they defined it as like programming with AI and praying it doesn't hallucinate a function into another dimension.
That's amazing. I love that. So, I mean, the memes are funny, but they also kind of like illustrate some of the real issues, right?
Exactly. They're a way of like processing this new trend, making fun of it, but also kind of like grappling with what it all means.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so vibe coding itself is interesting. The memes are hilarious. But like how does it all fit into the bigger picture? Are there any other like related trends or ideas that are like connected to vibe coding?
Oh, for sure. Vibe coding is kind of like the tip of the iceberg, you know?
Okay.
Like there are all these other things happening that are kind of related, kind of overlapping.
Okay. Like what?
So one that's been getting a lot of buzz is chaos coding.
Chaos coding.
Yeah, so if vibe coding is like going with the flow with one AI assistant, chaos coding is like unleashing a whole army of AIs on the same problem and seeing what happens.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's even more unpredictable.
Way more unpredictable. Like there are jokes about having apps that generate like 10 different versions of the same feature, and
Yeah.
then you just pick the one that works best.
That's that's crazy.
It is. It's totally chaotic, but it's also kind of exciting. Like what new and unexpected things might emerge from this kind of like AI-driven experimentation.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. So chaos coding is like taking vibe coding to the next level.
Exactly. And then there are all these other ideas that are more about the internal experience of coding,
Okay,
like
yeah.
the flow state, that feeling of being totally in the zone.
Oh, yeah, I love that feeling.
Right. And some people think that vibe coding, by focusing on intuition and feeling, might actually make it easier to get into that flow state.
Really? How so?
Well, because you're not overthinking things, you're not getting bogged down in the details. You're just trusting your gut and letting the code flow.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And there's this idea of like code zen,
Oh,
like finding this kind of like meditative state while you're coding.
oh, that sounds nice.
It is. And I think there's definitely a connection there to vibe coding, this idea of just letting go and trusting the process.
Okay, so chaos coding, flow state, code zen. What else?
Well, there's also this idea of code as art, like treating code as a form of creative expression, not just as a way to build functional software.
Oh, yeah, like that whole beautiful code thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think vibe coding fits into that really well because it's all about personal style and intuition, not just following rules and conventions.
So it's like less about being a programmer and more about being an artist.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're expressing yourself through code, you're creating something unique and beautiful.
And that can be really powerful, right? Like to think of code as this creative medium.
It is. And it's something that's been around for a long time, actually. Like back in the early days of computing, there was a lot more of this playful, experimental approach to programming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. People were writing these quirky little programs, these like visual experiments, these games that were more about fun than about, being commercially successful.
Oh, interesting. So in some ways, vibe coding is kind of like a return to those roots.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of that, like
Yeah.
a rediscovery of the joy and the creativity that can be found in coding.
Okay. Okay. I like that. And then the last thing you mentioned was this idea of uh, the contentification of software.
Right. So this is a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
It's basically saying that with AI, creating software is becoming more and more like creating content,
Yeah.
like making TikToks or writing blog
Oh,
posts.
interesting. So, like, less about building these complex systems and more about creating these small, shareable experiences.
Exactly. Like you can just whip up a little app that does one specific thing and then share it with the world.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Bankless newsletter actually called this the contentification of software.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were talking about how this is changing the way we think about software development. Like it's not just about building big, complicated applications anymore.
Right.
It's also about creating these smaller, more ephemeral pieces of content that are like meant to be consumed and shared quickly.
So it's almost like the difference between like writing a novel and writing a tweet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think vibe coding is playing a big role in this shift because it
Mhm.
makes it so much easier and faster to create these smaller pieces of software.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely see that. Okay. So we've talked about all these different ideas, these related trends, but
Yeah.
I gotta imagine there's some serious debate happening around vibe coding.